Hey YouTube, Moose Cap here. Hey, today I just want to talk about my first handgun, my thought process when I was first buying my first handgun, and and obviously I've changed the way I think about my first or buying a handgun, and we all evolve um, as the days go by and as we pick up more knowledge and all that. But I just want to share with you guys my thoughts and how I came to choosing my first handgun and certain things about choosing a handgun that might help new buyers. And so anyway, let's get started. So my first handgun that I bought was this Glock 23. Okay, and when I was first buying a handgun, I think I thought of it like most new new gun buyers or handgun buyers. Um, I just basically wanted, because my thought process back then, I wasn't a gun enthusiast at the time. I was buying one handgun. I thought I would only buy one handgun and that was it. So I wanted a handgun that did it all, and I wanted a caliber that did it all. Um, Now I know that there isn't a gun like that. There's always a trade-off, in caliber, round capacity versus, uh, like 9 millimeter versus 45, bigger round versus more round counts, and size, concealability versus full size with easier, you know, more shootability and less recoil and all that. So. But like I said, at the time, I was really wanting a gun that did it all. I did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and basically, it boiled down to two handguns, which was the Glock or the Springfield XD. Now, let me go over a couple of things why it went down to that. Because at the time, I didn't have all the choices. I didn't have Ruger SR9. I didn't have, VP9, and I didn't have I don't even think I even had a choice of MMP. Can't remember. Maybe it just came. I really don't remember. But I didn't have as many choices that we do today. But well, price point. Let's go with price point first. For me at the time, $1,000 for a gun was unthinkable. That's just ridiculous. So when I looked at the price range of guns, we were looking at anything from like around 300 to 1,000, and then so I figured, okay, 500 is acceptable to me. Me not being a gun enthusiast, that was acceptable. I wanted to stay around there, and I paid a little bit more. I think I won't. I went to support the gun shops or whatnot. So I went to a regular gun shop, and I think I paid a little bit over 600 for this, which is fine, whatever. You know, the guy obviously gave me pointers and helped me to pick it out. So I think it was all worth it. Um, I had friends to ask, but to me at the time, I felt like they were biased to certain brands, or I don't know. I just wanted to make the decision on my own, see where it went. So I did. I tried to do my own research, and of course, I kind of mentioned it to my friends to see what they thought of it, and I got the nod of approval. So, in the two choices I made. Now, why I chose the Glock 23 over the XD was that it seems to me, at the consensus was that Glock was a little bit more, had more track record and reliability than the Springfield XD. So that's why I went with that. And this is 40 Smith & Wesson caliber, by the way. And the reason I went with that was because there's still debate now, but back then there was still debate 9 versus 45. That whole big deal. So I decided to like go in the middle, basically go with the 40, and then law enforcement uses 40 Smith & Wesson, so I figured, hey, it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Yeah. So size-wise, like I said, I wanted a gun that did it all. I wanted something small, so if I ever need to conceal it, I never thought that would come up, but if that need be, then I wanted that size, and I also and I understood that's too small of a gun. It's harder to shoot, and before I bought this, I went shooting with to ranges a few trips too with my friends. Actually more than a few. I never owned a gun. I always shot my friends' guns. It's not like I've never shot before. So, but I shot other pistols before. Just I didn't own a gun, so I kind of knew that the bigger slide and bigger handgun is easier to shoot, and of course a full metal is always going to be easier to shoot than versus this polymer framed guns. So and then I understand that a lot of law enforcement agencies use Glocks. I figured, hey, it's pretty reliable. They obviously use it, So that also helped me in picking the Glock as well. And yeah, like I said, big factor was YouTube channels, other people's reviews. So it helped me a lot. And so for me, the gun needed to be a home defense gun. It needed to be concealed if I ever needed to conceal it. It needed to be a range gun that I'm gonna probably take out quite often with just when I go shooting or with friends or whatever. I'll have my own gun to take. So you need to do all that. Now obviously, after years and after owning other guns, it's not, for me it's not ideal. There's other better guns for me to choose and pick. And of course, 40 Smith & Wesson, as far as range ammo goes, isn't ideal because it's not as cheap as 9mm. Yeah, so, but I still like this gun. And this is another thing I want to tell those people who's buying their first handgun. Just be careful how you choose your first handgun, because most gun enthusiasts will tell you your first handgun is gonna have a little special place in your heart. I never see myself selling it just because it's my first handgun. It's the one that I have the most trigger time with, at the range time with. So compared to some other my other like 9mm or 9mm, depends on the trigger, but I actually shoot this better than some of my other 9mm. I think that's just because I have most time with it, most trigger time with it. So yeah, if your first handgun is most likely gonna be like a gun that you're gonna have most trigger time with, you're gonna probably shoot very well. It's gonna have a special place in your heart. So I'm not knocking some of the affordable guns. Hey, that's what you could afford, great. And if it shoots well, if it does the job, great. I'm all about that. So yeah, that's great. But just know, if you know that you're gonna have something probably forever with you in your life, unless until you pass on to your child or whatnot, then you're gonna want to pick something. You might want to shell out extra, $100 or $200, just because if you're gonna have it forever, So that's my point. That if you're gonna have something forever, you might shell out a little bit more money and maybe upgrade your gun a little bit. So. And then when I was first picking out my handgun, a lot of people were saying, well, go to the gun shop and feel it, see what it feels like, But, for guys who never, I've shot before, but, I was still somewhat new to guns. When people tell you that, you're like, okay, and I feel it, but you don't know, it feels good. I guess it feels a little bit better on your hand, one versus the other, but you don't know what you're really looking for. So here's what I tell people now. Obviously, you need to go feel it. But first of all, and this might be common knowledge, but if you want to know if your gun fits your hand or not, put it on there first of all. I'm not talking about how it feels. I'm talking about whether it's going to work for you as far as fit. Touch your thumb with your middle finger and forefinger. Now, if you can press pretty firmly, then it fits your hand. I have small hand, but still this Glock 23 works. It's functional. I could, put good groups, and it's not because the gun's too big. Now, I've been to qualifications where a small female with very tiny hands, she was barely able to brush the finger like this. This one maybe like that, but this one she could almost not even touch it, but barely brush it. And yeah, she didn't pass didn't pass the class. I haven't worked with her, try to help her out, but at the end of the day, I just felt like, yeah, she had a little recoil shyness, but I just, so she was compensating, but I feel like a lot of, and other shooters were doing the same thing, but I think the difference was that I thought the gun was way too big for her. And at the time, we didn't have Gen 4. Gen 4 was, I don't even think it was in the drawing boards, to be honest, with the backstrap, interchangeable backstrap. So she just had to deal with the Gen 3 but anyways, yeah. This is Gen 3, by the way. And, yeah, I tried to see if she could even qualify with my gun, just because hers actually was a full-size Glock. I think it was Glock 17. But, didn't work out. But anyways, that's not a part of this video. Whatever. Sorry, I'm getting off track here. So yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to like be able to like formally touch your finger there, and that's way to check if the gun's gonna even work for you. And for the most guys, it should. Thinking about people with small hands and stuff. And what I tell people now whether the gun feels good or not is, here's the thing is like, one way to check if gun feels good or not is hold on to, I don't have it in front of me, but feel a 1911. To me, most gun guys will agree that 1911 grip is one of the best feeling grip. Okay, so if you want to know what good, solid grip and what guns should feel like, grab a 1911. Okay, and then compare it to everything else. But here's one thing though. If you're going to first buy your handgun as a 1911, and that's where you're comparing it to, even something like a CZ75. CZ75B, that one feels very, very nice. It's very, a lot of people, most gun owners or CZ75 owners will agree that that feels like butter in your hand. It feels really good, like excellent grip. But, I think 1911 still edges it out a little bit. Especially with the check ring in the front. But anyways, I tell people, grab a 1911s. That's what really good gun feels like. But obviously, if you're gonna get other guns, then it's not gonna feel like that. But at least you know what it's supposed to feel like. What like excellent feeling gun's supposed to feel like, and then you could go from there. But if you have nothing to compare with, it's kind of hard to say, And another. That leads me to my next point. Because I chose, everybody kind of, I think, also agree that Glocks grips are very blocky. Not the most comfortable grip, especially if you don't have large hands. I think it worked out for me because my first handgun was a Glock and it has this blocky grip. Every other handguns that came afterwards felt good to me because it was an upgrade from this. It was an upgrade from this grip. This big old, I don't want to say big old beastie block, but I mean compared to someone like say my Ruger SR9, that feels so much better, slimmer. My 1911, obviously, like I mentioned, is best feeling gun. CZ75 feels good. Walther feels good. I mean, so like I said, when I went from this to that, it just felt good to me. So it worked out, But if you went from say like 1911 and try to shoot other guns, you might not like it, or you might definitely need a lot of getting adjustment and getting used to, because they're so used to something good. It's like if you start out driving a Bentley or Mercedes, and then you start driving a Honda. I mean, nothing wrong with Honda. My first car was a Honda Prelude. So if you start going from like say driving a Mercedes and then you drove a Honda, you're gonna be like, the ride isn't as smooth. It doesn't feel as good. It's just not good. But if your first car was like a Honda, and as you upgrade it to like Lexus, Mercedes, the cars, you're gonna feel that upgrade, and you're gonna feel, obviously it's gonna seem better. So, that's my point. I mean, it worked out for me, but so, that's one thing you might come across. I see some people like hate Glocks or hate blocky grips and just can't stand it, and I always ask them, well, what was your first handgun? Or, like what other guns do you have? Because that kind of tells me like, oh, they're so, I don't want to say spoiled, but they're used to such a good grip that when it comes to something like this, then it's just I see why they hate it, or they think it's so blocky. And let me see. Oh, another thing I learned that's really valuable in owning a pistol is which I want to share real quick. There's a couple videos out there, and the only reason I came across it is because one of my gun, my Ruger SR9, it happens to my Ruger SR9, not on my Glock, but SR9. Well, it turned out to be that it just needed a break-in period, but at the time I didn't realize. But once in a while in my break-in period, it doesn't happen anymore, but I would get failure to go into battery like that after some shots. And initially I thought I was limp wristing, but after a few hundred rounds, I know that wasn't happening. And it occurred to me, oh, maybe it's a bad spring. Maybe my spring, when I got it from the factory, it was just bad spring or whatever. And if you're ever wondering if you got a bad spring or worn out spring, it's time to change the spring. One way to do the test to check is, obviously you want your gun lubed and oiled and everything, because obviously if it's dirty, running dirty, then this test is, obviously it's pointless. It needs to be in good working condition, clean condition, oiled and ready to go. And then you're gonna wanna pull back the slide, have the gun pointing, the barrel pointing, pointing towards the ceiling. Obviously not at your face or head or anything. Practice safe. Even though it's unloaded, practice gun safety. And then just ride it slowly up. Now I can't make this Glock to do it because obviously it's a good spring, but if you see that you ride it slowly up and you let go like right there and it stays, you let go of your hand and it stays like that, then that means it's a bad spring. If it's a good spring, you ride it, you slowly ride it forward and you let go, it should go into full battery. Now my SR9 did that. It's like the weirdest thing. I don't know what happened. It did that. When Ruger SR9 did this, it would stop right there when I ride it. But then after about 500 rounds, it stopped doing that. And I even bought 2 extra springs because I thought that might be an issue. But after 500 rounds, it just never happened. And right when I was about to change out the spring, I would try it again and just like, it would work fine. So I think what happened was, it wasn't the spring at all. It was just maybe something brushing up against the slide or something that was kind of causing it to do that. But once it broke in and that kind of got, I don't know, worn away or something like that, nothing was stopping. And it's reliable, it's flawless, and I haven't had any issue in my last 1,000 rounds. No hiccups, no. Actually, I had one stovepipe, but that's probably the ammo because I was shooting reloads on that one. But like I said, 1,000 round, one stovepipe. To me, that's reliable. But anyways, what else? Yeah, I'm sure I forgot something I wanted to talk about, but yeah. So if you guys have any questions, comments, please leave below, and thanks for watching, guys.